Preservation Commission. If you would like to discuss a matter not on the agenda, please let me know and we will consider putting it on a future agenda. Otherwise, we're limited to what is on today's agenda. And if you have input when we get to an item, please get my attention and we'll hear what you have to say on it. All right, let's discuss approval of the October 14th meeting minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or changes, additions? None? All right. I realize we should have had a roll call as well. I suppose, I'm assuming we're okay to use the approval of the meeting minutes to also suffice as a roll call. So would someone like to make a motion about the meeting minutes?
This is Commissioner Larson. I would move to approve the meeting minutes from the October 14th meeting, Historic Preservation Commission meeting.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Larson. Would someone like to second that motion?
Commissioner Montero seconds the motion to approve the meeting minutes.
All right,
from October.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Montero. We'll go through the roll call, and then at the same time, please indicate if you would like to approve, disapprove, or abstain on the meeting minutes. I'll start with myself. Commissioner Buss, approve. How about Commissioner Montero?
Yes, Commissioner Montero approves. Sorry.
All right, thank you. We lost your sound for a moment. Commissioner Larson?
Approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Gilbert?
Abstain. I wasn't present for that meeting.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Nucci?
Approve.
All right. Going through my list here. Commissioner Garrity?
I approve, although it says on one of the votes that I abstained. Let's see, which vote is that? The vote on the west facade of the building. I can't remember off the top of my head the details, but that must have been like an audio error because I didn't abstain from any of the votes. That's time. But yes, I approve the minutes otherwise.
All right, so that'll be approval subject to your comments you just made.
Yeah, I would like, if it could be corrected, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Am I missing anyone? Do we have any other commissioners present that I have forgotten? No? All right. And I think we have the required 5 votes on that, so that was approved, subject to the correction that was noted a moment ago. All right, thank you. Let's move on to agenda item number 3 then, request for a demolition permit for the First Congregational Church at 101 East 6th Street. And what can you tell us about that, John?
Sure.
Yep, give me one moment. Let me. Okay, you should have presenter right status now. You're welcome.
Sorry, this is Sam Gordon. I cannot hear John at all. Can everyone else hear him?
No, John, if you could adjust your microphone.
Sure.
Okay,
There it is.
thank you.
Do you, okay, yeah.
Yeah, John, but your
Yeah.
bandwidth might not be optimal, so you're a little garbled.
So what?
We're missing a lot of your words, John. Okay, the slideshow is starting to show, but we're still having trouble hearing you, John.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly?
That's better, but I would also suggest turning off your camera. That might help it as well. Because then you're not using so much of your bandwidth.
I'll do everyone a favor and turn off my camera. I turned off my camera. Hopefully that will be helpful.
Yes, you sound much better now. Thank you.
Oh, good. I think it was just an excuse to get me to turn off the camera, but if it works, I'll do it. So everyone, this is agenda item 3. It's a request for a demolition permit for the 1948/1953 First Congregational Church located at 101 East 6th Street. A bit of background here. My computer is not moving as quickly as I would like. Here we are. So the property is listed in the Tempe Historic Property Register. It was listed as a landmark property on February 15th, 2001. It was the first landmark property listed. A landmark per our ordinance is a property that has achieved significance within the past 50 years, eligible for designation as a landmark if it demonstrates exceptional individual importance. This is the first request for demolition of a designated property that has come before the commission, so I thought it would be helpful to provide a brief overview of this section of the ordinance. It's section 14A7. It deals with demolition and removal. Essentially, when a permit or other approval is sought from the city to demolish or remove a designated property, issuance of the permit or approval shall be deferred until after approval has been obtained from the Historic Preservation Commission. And in this case, and it looks as if perhaps I'm in note mode. Is everyone seeing that?
I'm seeing the background slide.
Yeah, but it's John. It's showing in the note mode. It says give subtitles a try. You should go to full screen.
Interesting. On my monitor, it does show full screen.
Because we're seeing the current slide and the next slide versus just one slide.
Oh, interesting.
And John, on my screen, the give subtitles a try is just blocking your screen. I can't see the slide.
Well, let me have a look at some of the options here. It shows it's in presenter view. Let's look at screen display settings.
Yeah, but you want slideshow, not presenter view.
Okay. Is that better?
You being the.
I'm sorry?
Oh, it hasn't. Yeah, there you go. Fixed it.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it. I apologize, everyone. So in this case, because this property is not within a district and economic relief is not being sought, there is just one criterion in the ordinance upon which the decision to approve or deny the request to demolish shall be based. That is, the property which is proposed for demolition or removal is of no historic or architectural value or significance and does not contribute to the distinctive character of the property. The ordinance, and again, this is just a recap because this is the first such case to ever come before the commission. Per the ordinance, the commission shall act to approve, deny, conditionally approve, or continue an application at the public meeting at which it is initially reviewed, that being this evening. If the request for a proposed demolition is denied, there is a stay of demolition of up to 180 days or 6 months. During that period of restraint, the Commission and HPO will attempt to secure whatever assistance as may be feasible to effect the preservation of the property. So again, a recap of the request and applicable criterion, and of course, much greater detail is included in the packet, but this is just a brief overview for the benefit of the Commission and those watching this public meeting. The request is approved demolition of all buildings and structures standing on the Tempe Historic Property Register listed First Congregational Church parcels. The applicable criterion, again, property which is proposed for demolition is of no historic or architectural value or significance and does not contribute to the distinctive character of the property. As stated in the staff report, the staff recommendation is denial, and the rationale for that is that the extant buildings and structures on the Tempe Historic Property Register listed First Congregational Church property continue to possess integrity and significance, and the property remains eligible for listing under National Register Criterion A, satisfying TCC 14A401. And Chair Buss, that is the end of my presentation. I know that the applicant is present at the meeting here, and speaking of applicant, I do want to apologize for one small error on the staff report. You'll note up top it says the applicant is the City of Tempe. That is, of course, incorrect. The applicant is correctly identified later on in the cover page, that being Darren Sender of Sender Associates Chartered. So my apologies for the error. With that, Darren Sender of Sender Associates, and I believe Sam Gordon of Wexford Development, and perhaps one or more colleagues of Mr. Gordon are on the line, or rather present at this virtual meeting here. And at this point, Chair Buss, should Ms. Sender or Mr. Gordon or one or more of his colleagues have anything to say, I would turn it over to them.
All right, thank you, John. So do we have something from the applicant or applicant's representative that would like to speak to the issues?
Yes, Chairman Buss. This is Darren Sender Associates, and I'm here representing Wexford Development. With me here is Sam Gordon with Wexford Development, Charles Good, also with Wexford, and my associate Jen Boblick is also here. And I'll do a quick, just a brief intro. John did a great job of the overview, and a good staff report as well. So I don't have too much to say, but after I do my brief overview, I'm just going to have Sam say a few words as the property owner, and then we can move forward from there. So again, Darren Sender Associates, 464 South Farmer in Tempe, right down the street from City Hall. Just want to welcome everybody. Thank you for giving us this opportunity here tonight. I know these are crazy times, and this is a unique platform. You've had some experience with this. This is my first virtual hearing, This is a unique environment, and I hope everyone here, today's family and friends and themselves are doing well and stay safe.
All right, thank you, Darren.
So just moving forward quickly, I want to thank John and Alex as well. We've been talking with them about this for quite a while, and they've been very helpful with requirements, with the process and procedures, what we have to follow, what things we need done, explaining the process to us and explaining what needs to be submitted and what you were looking for as a commission. So John, again, stated correctly, this is a request under the City Code 14A-7, demolition and removal. We're requesting the demolition of the entire building site and all pertinent structures at 101 East 6th Street. And we're requesting your approval to raise those structures to facilitate development of a high-rise project that is commensurate with what's being developed around it and compatible with what's going on in the downtown area. We've submitted the required materials that were requested from 14A-7B. Again, John helped me considerably with what needed to be submitted, including the application, the photos, the preliminary plan of development, and any other relevant application materials. And that application was accepted by the city, and that's why we're here today. As John described, there is a process identified in the city code, and that's where we're at today regarding this request. The process balances the city's desire to preserve historic buildings with property owners' property rights. So we're here tonight to ask you to approve this request to facilitate that development that my client wishes to do. I'm assuming you've seen the staff report in our narrative. I won't go into all the details. Please feel free to ask me any questions if you have any. But I'd like Sam to say a few words about his interest in the property, and there you go.
All right, thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. And John, thank you for the overview and introduction. My name is Sam Gordon. It's nice to meet all of you virtually. Wexford Developments, I should also mention Charles Good, one of our team members who's based in Arizona right now, is also in the meeting. I'll just take a very brief moment to tell you about our company and our activity in Tempe. Wexford Development is a real estate investment development company. We own 8 or 9 properties throughout downtown Tempe. Began investing there about 5 years ago, and we have taken a very long-term view on our activities there and have purchased a variety of different properties and are involved in a number of different activities there. This site was we spent a lot of time with the church congregation who we purchased the site from before we bought the property to really understand what their intention was in selling it. And when we were clear and confident that their intention in selling it was for someone to build something on the site, which was reflected in the elevated purchase price that we paid them, we became comfortable to go ahead and purchase the property. And so that was a really important point for us, was that the church congregation themselves was not only in support, but was very much behind seeing the building eventually be demolished in a high-rise or a mid-rise building built there at some point, given where the site is and what's around it. If anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them here, or anyone's feel free. I'll circulate my contact info as well. If anyone has any questions directly, you can reach out anytime. But thank you for giving us the opportunity to meet you and talk to you about this.
All right, thank you, Sam. I did have a question. Are you able to discuss other properties you own? You said you own several.
Sure. We own 4 properties on Mill Avenue, existing restaurant with some office space above buildings. They're all on our website, but one is 401 South Mill, 526 South Mill, 425 South Mill, 20 East University. We also own, are part of the Westin Tempe Hotel. We're not an owner of it, but we owned the site previously, and we're part of the development group. Not the lead developer, just sort of, we were more involved on the entitlement front end. And then we also own a property in right beside Culinary Dropout, the yard over just northwest of Mill Avenue, where we have a project planned and something in Chandler. But Tempe has really been our main area of focus and interest. Like I said, we are very committed to this place. I mean, my colleague Charlie went to school at ASU. We will we'll be opening an office locally. We know many people on the council and been involved with a lot of different causes, activities, and so we're certainly not a one and done type of group. We've taken a very long-term perspective on your city, and it's really important to us. I think evidenced by what we currently own and our current activities of looking for additional property as well.
All right. I'm not totally familiar off the top of my head about the addresses that you gave. I'm assuming at least 1 or 2 of these are properties over 50 years old. Would that be correct?
Yes.
All right. Which ones would fall into that category?
I believe 401 South Mill would be more than 50 years old. I also think that 526, a part of it, may be more than 50 years old. Not the whole thing, but the southern building. There's 2 buildings connected to each other, but they are separate buildings. And the southern building, which is a 2-story building on the corner of 6th and Mill, I believe is more than 50 years old. I know it's more than 50 years old.
All right. And I think you mentioned 425.
I mentioned 425 earlier. That's not one that would be more than 50 years old. I think that was built in 2008.
Right. Okay. I believe one of these addresses, if I remember right, one of these addresses is actually the Andre building. Would that be correct?
Yeah, 401.
All right. And what is your long-term perspective here? You said you have a long-term perspective. Does that involve new buildings all over the place, or do you have any interest in preservation of buildings that are more than 50 years old?
Yeah, we certainly don't have one core strategy across our portfolio. It's very property specific. We don't have plans to, demolish and rebuild every property I just mentioned by any means. I also forgot to mention we own the Center Point asset as well, which is our largest property on Mill Avenue. It goes from University to 6th Street on the west side of Mill. And that's all newer than 50 years old. But no, if your question is, do we have plans to demolish buildings tomorrow, and build new buildings on all of our Mill Avenue assets? The answer is no.
All right. I was just trying to decipher what your long-term interest is, as you stated it was long-term.
Yep. Yep. I mean, of course, optionality is important. I mean, not only for the obvious fact that more options is usually better than less, but just in terms of, property values and we could have a situation where we have absolutely no intention at all of knocking something down and rebuilding, but the sheer fact that someone can do that makes a big difference in the value of that property whenever we wanted to sell it, or certainly when we were acquiring these properties, the sellers were saying those exact things to me, right? And therefore requiring a certain valuation for that reason. But no, I mean, we don't have any immediate plans to demolish those buildings on Mill Avenue.
All right. There's no, you haven't executed any preservation agreements on any of these buildings, though, have you?
We have not. I believe that the 526 building, which we bought from a friend of mine, Stu Seifer, already has some sort of conservation easements on them. I believe it's on the south building, which is the one I mentioned. I think it was Tempe National Bank is what it was called. And I believe that there's a conservation easement on the on the Mill Avenue side and the 6th Street side. John would have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's on the 6th Street side and the Mill Avenue side, protecting facades, protecting the facades of that building.
And Chair Buss and members of the commission, that is correct. There is a facade conservation easement that was executed by Stu Seifer some years ago that is in place. And it does. I'm sorry?
It was in 2006.
Yes, that's correct. And it does cover the Mill Avenue and 6th Street facades of the Tempe National Bank building.
Yes, thank you, John. I'm familiar with that one. So that's the only one you have. You don't have any conservation easements on the Andre building.
No, we don't.
All right. All right. Kind of surprising. It's a very significant building. Did you have anything else for us, Sam?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's great to meet you, Chairman Buss, over virtual video here. But we want to, as I always am with any project or asset we own, I mean, we want to be a very communicative and transparent landlord, and want, whether it be a commission like this or any residents or neighbor, to feel like they can reach out to us at any time if they need to discuss something.
All right, thank you, Sam. And was there anyone else that wanted to speak to this issue?
No, not at this time.
All right, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Right. Was there anyone from the public that wanted to discuss the matter? Nope. All right. I guess we'll begin some commission discussion on this then. I would say I would like to know more about the significance of the building. I've read the lengthy information on this. I feel like we should still know more about this building, and I would like to hear what the other commissioners have to say about that.
I agree with you, Chairman Buss. This is Commissioner Montero. Yeah, it's really neat building that's been there for a long time. And yeah, I definitely would want to know more about it and why it's not meeting, why it's suggested it's not meeting any criteria of significance. I don't really understand that part of the report.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Montero.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner
this is
Nucci.
Commissioner Nucci. Just to address Commissioner Montero's comment, I don't believe the report suggests that it's not continuing to meet the criteria for designation. I think that if anything, the report may have soft pedaled the significance of it initially. It was the first property to get listed in an unusual landmark configuration, which in the local listing process means that the project has exceptional significance or even more significance, perhaps extraordinary significance beyond just your typical 50-year-old property that's otherwise eligible. So I think that continues today, and that's the basis for staff's recommendation for denial, because we don't have the ability to find the property to be any less significant now than it was 2 decades ago when it went on as our first landmark. So it's our first landmark, it's our first request for demolition. Those are a lot of firsts, but I don't want the record to reflect that the historic significance of this property has diminished in the last 20 years. I don't believe that that's a proper reading. That's all I want to say.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
Nucci. Yes, go ahead, please. All right. Would any other commissioners like to? Oh, yes, Commissioner Montero.
No, I was just going to thank Commissioner Nucci for the explanation. You know, I'm the archaeologist on the commission, and I also want to note that I believe the location is within a major archaeological site that we call La Plaza. I believe it's in the boundaries of that site, and I wonder if any consideration is being given to that. It's a very significant place, and I believe it's a traditional cultural property to the local tribes. So I wanted to mention that.
Well, this is Commissioner. Oh,
There could be buried archaeology on, you know, in that location.
Right. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Montero. Commissioner Garrity, you had something?
I was just gonna, yeah, thank you. I was just gonna follow up on what Commissioner Montero said. I was just looking when I knew this was the property we were talking about. I looked up some of the site records I have, and it is indeed, it was until recently, part of that was within a site called the Brickyard site. Wasn't part of the plaza, but has recently been integrated into the La Plaza site that Maureen mentioned. So there is an archaeological consideration in this area as well. Just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Garrity. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments?
This is Commissioner Larson. I do have a couple of thoughts and comments. I did not comb through the packet in great detail. It's over 100 pages long, but I did notice that the church was built in what appears to be the late 1800s. Maybe it was built 130 years ago, as much as 130 years ago. And so it appears to be one of the oldest buildings in the perhaps the city. If I'm not mistaken. And I will say that the staff recommendation of denial holds a lot of weight for me. All of that to say that I agree with you, Chair Buss. I would like to know more information before I would agree to approve, or before I would approve an application to demolish the building.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Larson.
Hey, John, do you mind just confirming what parts, because I know a couple of the structures burned down, and just for my benefit as a reminder also.
So Chair Buss, members of the commission, in answer to Mr. Gordon's question, what we see today was designed by Kipper Goodwin and essentially constructed in two phases, first being 1948, second being 1953. It is believed and it is documented, although the extent to which historic components are included is not known. It is believed that there are either components of the building, the existing building, that date to prior to 1948, whether that be bricks and building materials or sections of wall. The congregation had been there since the late 19th century. The buildings that we see today, by and large, are 1948 and 1953, although potentially in places there are sections of older buildings, the extent or existence of which is at this point not confirmed.
Right, that's what I recall as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, John. Yes, I believe from what I've been reading, it seems that portions of this church were built in the 1890s. I don't know how much of it, but some of it is, I believe some of it's still there. I've been in the church before, and I have some architecture background. No, I'm not a licensed architect. But I always have the feeling when you're in the main congregation worship area that this is something older than 1948 or 1953. I feel like we need to know more about this building, and I'm wondering what the other commissioners think about maybe forming a subcommittee to study it or something along those lines.
Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
is there a motion?
No, this is Commissioner Nucci. I'm hearing several people say more information, and I'm hoping that won't disrail the process and send it to continuance, because I believe that the commission's position tonight has to be pretty clear that we have to deny this, and then it's our job, the commission's job, to make as much use of the 180-day period to discover additional information, to document continued significance or significance under additional criteria, which is probably what we'll find now that 1948 is 50 years past. So I would offer a motion if it pleases the commission. My motion would be move for denial of a request for a demolition permit for the 1948-1953 First Congregational Church located at 101 East 6th Street, PL 200256, BP 202089, and that the chair appoint a subcommittee of the commission to work with the developer and other stakeholders as instructed by ordinance to seek alternatives to demolition and to mitigate adverse effects to the property from redevelopment. I think that's our most cooperative and expedient course from this point. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Nucci. So we have a motion out there now. Would someone like to, is there comments on it before we look for a second and voting on it? No? All right. Would someone want to second the motion that was made by Commissioner Nucci?
I second the motion. Commissioner Montero seconds the motion.
All right, thank you. I I guess we will vote on it then, unless anyone has any further comments to make. All right.
One other thing, Chairman, is just so the commission knows what's happened since we bought the property. The church is sitting vacant today. We allowed a contractor to use the building while they build projects across the street. Those uses are completed. So the building is sitting vacant today. As I said earlier, the congregation, who still keeps in touch with me, Larry Power is the gentleman's name, who lives in Pine Top or Pine Tree, Arizona, stays in touch with me to see what's going on. And he, their biggest concern was not to see the building be used for a restaurant or alcohol or some offensive use, which was one of their main motivations for wanting the building, raised. Now that their use was completed and they sold the property. Not that should drive anyone's view on its own necessarily, but I just wanted everyone to have that background.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Yes, I did read that in the report. And I could see that perspective for members of a building that was used for religious purposes. There are potentially other uses for the building that would not offend the sensitivities of religious members. I have seen this across the country, buildings used as bars, nightclubs, restaurants. There are other uses for buildings, however, that would not, as I said, not necessarily offend the senses of religious members. Were there any other comments before we vote on the motion? All right, hearing none. Let's begin the voting on it. This is Chair Buss. I vote aye to approve Commissioner Nucci's motion. Commissioner Montero? Commissioner Montero, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Gilbert?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Nucci?
Aye.
Commissioner Larson?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I think that was everyone.
Right. Commissioner Garrity votes aye as well.
I'm sorry. Yes,
That's all right. Oh yeah, Commissioner Garrity, aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. And I believe that was all. So the motions for the commission to approve a demolition permit is denied. And I will appoint a subcommittee to study the significance and importance of the building some more. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Commissioner? Chair Buss?
Yes.
Just for the record, you said that the subcommittee was to further research the building, but I believe the ordinance requires seeking alternatives to demolition and mitigating the adverse effect as well. I just want to have that read in for the record.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Yes. All right. And John?
Yes, Chair Buss.
As far as a subcommittee, is that something we would deal with right now?
Chair Buss, seeing as how the motion authorized you to appoint the subcommittee, we can speak. I will formalize documentation, we're required to notify the city council of the appointment of a subcommittee, the purpose of the subcommittee, et cetera. But that is not necessary to address right now, seeing as how the motion enabled you to appoint the members.
All right. The issue of a subcommittee has only come up once before in my 7 or 8 years. So,
yes, it's been an infrequent.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can you just repeat what Alex Smith had read into the record? I couldn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Oh, Mr. Smith was reading into the record to during the 180-day period to seek alternatives to demolition.
Chair Buss, if I may suggest, Commissioner Nucci, are you available to read your motion once again?
Yes, it's in the chat box on the side panel of the screen here, and I'll read it. Move for denial of a request for a demolition permit for the 1948-1953 First Congregational Church located at 101 East 6th Street, PL 200256, BP 202089, and that the chair appoint a subcommittee of the commission to work with the developer and other stakeholders as instructed by ordinance to seek alternatives to demolition and to mitigate adverse effects to the property from redevelopment.
Okay, so that was the motion that was approved by the commission.
Yes, that's it.
And Commissioner Nucci, thank you for, typing it in the chat box. That is, I'm sure, very helpful for Brittany as she types up the minutes.
Yes, and us as well. Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to agenda item number 4, Tempe Butte graffiti mitigation update. And what do you have for us on that, John?
Oh,
You're kind of choppy, John. All right, thanks.
screen. Okay.
You're still hard to hear, John.
Okay. It's,
I see it.
I see agenda item 4, but you also have something else going on. Do you have your email open in the background? Because you have, like, I think pop-ups maybe happening on your screen as well. Because it's grayed out in certain areas on the screen.
go ahead.
There we go. That's better. Okay.
Hey guys, I'm going to sign off. Thank you again for your time. It was nice to meet everyone. Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Chair Buss, members.
Okay, John, There's something still wrong with your microphone. It's really choppy. Can you perhaps move it closer to your
Tell you-
mouth, or did we lose you, John? Your microphone is really choppy. We can't hear you.
To the computer.
Okay.
John,
Is the
can you hear me? This is Steve. Can you phone in? Turn down the volume on your laptop and phone in. Do a connection that way. I'm sorry.
Do you know how to phone in, John? It's just the 3 options, the more options.
I'm in the notes here, so conference only. Try this on the phone. Okay, and Brittany, if you'd be so kind, what's the code?
Oh, wait, you're fine now. Nope, you're good. Go for it.
So yes, unfortunately, there has been an increase in the amount of graffiti that is being painted on the butte. There have been past instances in West, either Oregon or the past of 2013. It seems that has brought about a increase in frequency of graffiti being painted on the butte. We have an example is no faces are visible, but this is the summit. This is graffiti that was painted by and large in spring and early summer. This has been discussed with the commission. I had indicated at a past meeting that I would provide a photo graffiti, subsequent cleanup efforts, etc. So this is, again, those individuals are looking largely to the southwest there. We see a number of different colors. From what I've learned, unfortunately, there are certain to by the crowd who graffitis that are relatively difficult to remove. This, of course, being both an archaeological site and a traditional cultural property in the location of numerous petroglyphs. There was a great deal of concern about impact to this resource here, and not just the desire, but a requirement that we address it in line with both Arizona State Museum requirements and practices, and in a manner consistent with best practices employed by other cities and those preferred by our partners at the 4 Southern Tribes. I'm thankful to Commissioner Montero for her assistance. The City of Phoenix has developed a program for graffiti mitigation in sensitive areas using a product called Elephant Snot. It is a non-caustic cleaner. It is applied, it is allowed to set for a relatively brief period of time, then water is applied, and the graffiti in most instances is removed rather effectively. Sometimes there is some ghosting that can be addressed with subsequent applications. Again, there are some challenges related to specific colors and paint types, but in working with Commissioner Montero and colleagues here at the city, we contracted mitigation services with Logan Simpson. Jewel Tushin of Logan Simpson is very experienced in application of the elephant snot product, and she led the effort there. Some additional examples. This is a sign imploring folks not to go beyond the trail, as you can see by the individual here. Going over the rail, it is not really regarded. Unfortunately, the sign was subsequently tagged itself and is now virtually illegible. Here's yet another example of the graffiti, and this in a very precarious location here. We did contract with Logan Simpson. They consulted with Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, the Gila River Indian Community. They worked with the Arizona State Museum. And after that consultation effort, they went out, they did abate the graffiti on Tempe Butte and graffiti that occurred in Papago Park. This particular piece of graffiti here, or pieces of graffiti rather, again, are in a rather precarious situation. They were able to address those. They eventually had to enlist the services of a, as I understand it, a hiking club or a mountaineering club to assist them. So they're very creative in their efforts to address it. We did receive some press coverage. There was a reporter from the Arizona Republic who addressed it. A photographer was there present. Here we have, and unfortunately for her, or fortunately, depending upon her preference for media coverage, Alex Howard of Logan Simpson, with her face covered and a hat otherwise obscuring her face, working on removing some of the graffiti. Unfortunately, despite all the efforts that was put into it, within a matter of days, literally, there was additional graffiti. This, I can assure you, was not me. Someone apparently named John, and someone with a fondness of bumblebees, it seems, went up there and painted additional graffiti. Logan Simpson returned to address that. They found, subsequent to the cleanup in Papago Park, that additional graffiti had been painted there as well. So this is a significant problem, and it is one that understandably is of great concern to the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community Tribal Historic Preservation Office, the Gila River Indian Community Tribal Historic Preservation Office, and others. And unfortunately, even after the second round of graffiti on the Butte, it seems there was a third round. So this is an ongoing issue. So in terms of Logan Simpson's work, as I understand it, and perhaps Commissioner Garrity could confirm this, but I believe their work under the contract that was issued has been completed. That said, there is the ongoing question of how we go about deterring would-be vandals, or ensuring that there is a robust enforcement protocol in place. And that is a topic of discussion. It is one that we've been able to involve other departments in, to include the Tempe Police Department. We're hopeful that we will be able to develop strategies that will help to manage this issue. In the interim, of course, there's a risk that it will continue, and that is essentially the update. Again, it is of great concern to the tribal communities, the 4 southern tribes, and it is something that is the focus of attention, but is unfortunately not going to be an easy issue to solve or perhaps even manage effectively. But there are discussions at hand, and certainly should any members of the commission have suggestions either now or outside of the meeting, I would welcome those suggestions.
Thank you, John. Does anyone have any thoughts on how to stop these ridiculous people?
Thanks, John. Commissioner Montero here. I'm thinking about it. We talked a little bit about this last time. And I think a few of us offered some suggestions, but this is a big challenge, and I don't have any ideas at the moment, but I will continue to think about it and reach out to you if I have any other ideas. Is there a site steward that stewards the area?
So Commissioner Montero, that is a great question. The city of Tempe does have a site steward IGA. There are 2 sites included in it, that being Tempe Butte and Loma del Rio. Unfortunately, the site steward agreement was managed by Amy Douglas at the Tempe History Museum when she worked for the city. Amy was an archaeologist, is an archaeologist. Amy retired from the city, transferred the responsibility briefly to the Historic Preservation Office. My predecessor, Commissioner Nucci, retired shortly after Amy, and at some point in the relatively brief period between Commissioner Nucci's retirement and my start date with the city, it seems that individuals in parks were made aware of the agreement and essentially voiced a desire to manage that. Subsequent to that, and I've had conversations with the State Historic Preservation Office about the site steward program. Subsequent to that, there has not been any request for assistance or any engagement of the program on the part of the city. So that is something that does need to be addressed, and likely we need to look at where that is being managed within the city and where it would best be housed.
Okay.
John, do we have any, well, I'm sure the answer is a big no. I was wondering if we had any idea of whether this is daytime or nighttime activity.
Chair Buss, I cannot say for sure. I would like to think that it is nighttime activity, in the sense that I'd like to think that if this were occurring in broad daylight, those users of the butte would put a stop to it or notify the authorities. That said, there was an individual who set up a tent atop the butte and was living there, at least for a period of days, at the very end of the trail. So presumably that individual and his tent was seen by many folks who used the butte, and was not reported, as Commissioner Garrity can speak to. I believe that the individual did display a knife when Jewel of Logan Simpson made her way to the top of the butte and encountered him.
Wow.
Yes, Commissioner Garrity, I can attest, she did mention that. I wasn't there myself, but Jewel did mention that. And I just want to point out, even though, it'd be great to have someone, a site steward or someone who took this site under their wing, I have to give kudos to Jewel, because she's been going up there regularly, checking, not on work time, just doing it on her own free time. And even the last time she went to do some additional graffiti removal, she did it on a weekend with volunteers. She didn't, so even though our contract's done, it's not a sustainable long-term solution, but I think Jewel is, at least for the short term, kind of wants to make sure she can maybe help look after it until it gets passed off to, the more formal kind of arrangement. So.
And Chair Buss and Commissioner Garrity, that is absolutely correct. Jewel deserves a great deal of credit and appreciation. This is clearly something that is very personal to her. She is committed. She has completed work above and beyond the scope of the contract, and it is greatly appreciated.
That's really wonderful. I had another thought. I think that's great that Jewel is doing that on her own, and honestly, if at some point maybe I'll help her. But another thought I just had is just about kind of stepping up the education about it. It takes time, but we in the city of Phoenix, we developed a brochure about protecting petroglyphs, and it's on our website. And maybe doing something similar like that, some kind of a brochure that maybe if you have a site steward out there, they can pass out, or or put on your website, just to educate people, so that people visiting the butte, even if they're not doing the graffiti, if they see something happening, maybe they're more likely to report it or say something.
And Commissioner Montero, I believe that is a good idea. Education, of course, is critical, and there are many ways we could get that message out. I know that Salt River had sent a member of their media team to film the cleanup. They were hoping to put together a PSA, essentially, certainly printed educational material. That is, I suspect, going to be a key component of any strategy. Any long-term strategy here. Folks need to know what it is that, they need to understand the significance of the butte and significance not only as a recreational asset, but as a cultural resource, and the damage that can come from misuse of the butte, whether it be going off trail or painting portions of it, or otherwise defacing rocks or petroglyphs.
John, are these thoughts something that could be put on the sign at the trailhead? And the other thing is, are there hours over there? I mean, is it something that is there a sign stating that the trails close at dawn?
So, Chair Buss, I had a conversation, I believe just yesterday, with someone from Parks, and there are hours. I don't have them available offhand here, but I believe something like 10 p.m. perhaps. So yes, there are hours, and in terms of signage, that is something that is being discussed. I think while there is signage there at the base, the start of each trail, certainly additional signage underscoring underscoring the fact that defacing it is illegal, and making it very clear is perhaps in order. We do have a meeting set to discuss signage needs, signage not only in terms of educational and deterrent signage, but interpretive signage. As I understand it from Commissioner Montero and her colleagues at Pueblo Grande, the process of developing interpretive signage may be a relatively lengthy one, but we're hopeful that we could get at least some signage that serves as a more effective deterrent in relatively short order.
What would it take to change the hours? I don't understand why we can't tell people when the sun goes down, you don't go up here anymore. And along with that, see if we could get Tempe police to if they're not busy on their patrols after dark, to see if they could come to the base of the mountain, maybe shine a couple of lights up there for a moment, see if there's anything going on.
Chair Buss, if this is Alex Smith, if I might add a little context to your question with respect to the hours, I think the current hours are 10 p.m. The sort of dusk to dawn hours are, while they make sense on the surface, I think there's a lot of people that choose to recreate on the Butte lawfully up and down the trail, staying on the Mark Trail, etc. In the dark hours, particularly folks that get up early in the morning to get their exercise, or that get off work late and want to get their exercise outside. So while I appreciate the commission's concerns with respect to education and hours, signage, I suspect the folks we're dealing with aren't going to be moved by such measures. So, John and I are working on some more enforcement related ideas that once they get more fully developed, we'll bring back to the commission. I do think some signage and some education is good, and we're going to continue to pursue that. But I think I'd caution Chair Buss on changing the hours. I don't think that would help solve the problem.
Well, it would limit people. They would be under the understanding based on the signage that if they're on that mountain after dark, they're in trouble and could be fined or arrested. Isn't it also dangerous to be climbing up the side of a hill when there's no light out?
If you're on the pathway and you have a headlamp, it's fine.
No, never thought of that. That's true. Right.
I just know this because I deal with the parks folks, and we try to keep all of our assets open to as many people as possible.
Right.
And I'm just from an exercise perspective, it's a nice thing to be able to get up in the morning and go up that mountain when it's not crowded. And there's nothing wrong with people being there after dark so long as they follow the rules. It's the folks that don't follow rules that are the issue, regardless of the light situation.
Right. No, I understand that does spoil it for everyone to say that nobody can be there after dusk, but it would make the enforcement a little easier. But I do see both sides of it.
It'd rule out romantic sunsets for a bunch of folks, and we wouldn't want to do that.
Oh no, they can still have their sunsets, but once the sun goes all the way down below the horizon, it's time to pack it up. All right. Well, thanks, Alex.
And Chair Buss and members of the commission, and this may, I suspect, also be of interest to Commissioner Montero. I have been looking into it. In addition to just the fact that defacing property that you do not own is a crime, there is a ordinance prohibiting that as relates specifically to the preserve. And I found there's also a state statute. It's ARS 133702. Person commits defacing or damaging petroglyphs, pictographs, and then it goes into caves and caverns, etc., is guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor. So there are some enforcement tools at hand. I can't say I'm familiar with what the penalties associated with the Class 2 misdemeanor are, but in addition to municipal ordinances, there is a state statute, really the matter where what needs to be addressed is deterring and then apprehending and enforcing when appropriate and when that option is available.
All right. Thanks, John. Did anyone else have any comments? No? All right. Well, I hope we can figure out how to solve this problem. Let's move on to agenda item number 5. I guess this would be a review of meeting dates for next year. What do you have for us, John?
Chair Buss, I've stopped.
Your audio's gone bad again, John.
The highlighted dates, it's my understanding that those are dates that need to be changed because of holidays that happen to occur on our regularly scheduled meeting date. Brittany, is that correct?
Almost. The highlighted dates are the dates that I had to change because there was another commission meeting already being that day or your normal date, or it falls within a faith-based holiday, so I couldn't schedule our meeting on a normal day.
Gotcha. Thank you, Brittany. And Brittany, are we looking for, in addition to the review and the comment, are we looking for a motion to set these dates, or is this just something where we're seeking input as to availability?
Just informing you guys, really. Alex already okayed it, so I ran with it. It's already been put out on the website, but it's just so that you guys have the information on hand for yourselves.
I assume this would involve situations like today, where we usually, today we would have met, this month we would have met last Wednesday, but because of Veterans Day, we had to delay it a week. Would that be the case for next year, that there's a couple of times where there's a holiday of some kind that will cause us to postpone by 1 week?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. And which months are those?
So Chair Buss, I'm looking at the calendar. It looks as if May 12th, which would be our typical meeting date, the second Wednesday, has been moved to May 11th. It appears May 12th is, and I know I will not pronounce it correctly, but Eid al-Fitr, and September, let's see, it looks as if, well, the 8th, which is our normal meeting date, is not a holiday. The 15th is Yom Kippur. Brittany, I'm guessing perhaps that's one of the instances where it's because our presumed meeting location is already in use.
Correct. And then even if we do it via WebEx, because we don't really know what the situation is next year, we only have 3 WebEx accounts for community development, and this one is shared with 3 other commissions. So it's HPC, Board of Adjustment, JRC, Joint Review Committee, and then DRC, Development Review Committee. So I have to take them into account as well and kind of shuffle it a little bit.
So 11th, that is a Tuesday. Does anyone have standing conflicts on Tuesday? And September 13th is a Monday. So does anyone have standing conflicts on Mondays?
I personally don't. How does everyone else feel about that?
I only have conflicts the second Tuesday of the month.
And Chair Buss, Chair Buss, Mr. Montero, 11th is the second Tuesday of the month.
Second Tuesday of the month. Okay. I will have a conflict if we start our meetings again. Sorry. With the museum closed, we haven't had those meetings, but they probably will start up again, hopefully in the spring.
This commissioner,
you could have an issue with May then.
This is Commissioner Larson. I have a conflict on May 11th, 2021. It's a personal event, but I would not be available that day.
All right. So it sounds like Commissioner Larson and Commissioner Montero both have an issue with May 11th, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So Chair Buss, I suppose seeing as how a motion is not desired here or necessary, perhaps we'll take that into account and move closer to those dates, examine the situation, see first if it'll be virtual or in person, and who else may or may not be available, and then adjust accordingly if needed.
All right. Perhaps for May, it could even be maybe the day before on the 10th, if there's others that have an issue with it.
And I will.
All right. So it was only May and September, right?
Those are the chair bus. Those are the only days that are highlighted. They appear to be the only days that deviate from the normal schedule of meeting the second Wednesday of each month.
All right. And our meeting place, when the COVID threat has subsided, we're supposed to be meeting in council chambers. Is that correct?
Chair bus, that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I look forward to that happening once it's safe.
Yes.
All right. Was that all for that, John?
I think I'll look forward to that.
Yes. All right. Are we ready then for agenda item 6, chair and staff update?
Yes. Chair Bus, do you have any updates you wish to share? Okay. So in terms of updates, the one significant project that is being worked on is the 8th Street Phase 2 archaeological work. The excavation data recovery has completed. We will have a second into field work visit for representatives from ADOT and potentially the State Historic Preservation Office and possibly members of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community this coming Monday, at which point it will presumably be backfilled. So I commend Logan Simpson for the work there. Travis Curitan is the field director for that project. Just phenomenal work, a very complex project out there, and he's done just a wonderful job. The Downtown Tempe Authority has moved into the Hayden House, so we do have a tenant in there now, which is very exciting. And the Tempe Depot project, which this commission has heard presentations on twice in the past, the developer also presented to the Tempe Historic Preservation Foundation, and the foundation also decided to express their support letter. So at this point, both the Historic Preservation Commission and Historic Preservation Foundation have voiced support for the preservation and rehabilitation of Tempe Depot. And that will be, I believe, going to City Council for a second and final public hearing in January of 2021.
All right. And John, what time is that meeting on Monday on 8th Street?
Oh, that I will have to confirm the time. I believe it's 10. That is certainly if there are members of the commission that wish to visit, I'd be happy to accompany them to 8th Street. I think that particular visit may not be the most opportune time for members of the commission should they wish to visit the site. I'd be happy to facilitate that.
All right, thanks, John. I was there with John on Monday for quite a while. It was a very significant find. A very large building was unearthed, and it was just absolutely fascinating. And I hope that John will have a full report for us on it in the future.
And Chair Buss, I will let the folks that we are paying very handsomely present the information. You'll get much better information, I suspect, and people who are much more able to field questions if we do that. But yes, that will be forthcoming.
John, this is Commissioner Garrity. I was just going to offer, if you'd like, I could arrange for one of the subsequent commission meetings for a presentation. We're doing a number of projects in Tempe. So in addition to A Street, we haven't talked much about it, but John, if you're interested, we could also talk about our work at Bellevue as well. I think would be of interest to the commission if it's okay with you.
So Chair Buss, Commissioner Garrity, absolutely. That is not something that has been discussed a great deal. As you mentioned, there have been updates, although I think the last was at this point several months ago. But yes, those are two very exciting, very significant projects, and certainly would welcome them.
Right, thank you. I'll arrange that. I'll be in touch with you, John, about scheduling.
Are you there, John?
Yes, that is all I have as relates to staff updates.
Okay. All right. Thanks. We'll move on to agenda item 7. Current events, announcements. Does anyone have anything under that? Nope. All right. Anything extra to contribute to that, John?
No, Chair Buss, I do not have anything to add. I saw for a moment it looked as if perhaps Commissioner Montero was trying to speak. Is that Commissioner Montero? Did you have something?
No, I don't. I really just had a question again about that 8th Street site. When do you know when it will be backfilled at this point? Like, if the commission wanted to do a visit apart from the meeting on Monday, I just wonder how much more time there is to do that. And I have been out there several times. It's pretty amazing. I think everybody should really take the opportunity to look at that if they can. So just kind of wondering.
Sure, thank you. Chair Buss, Commissioner Montero, the backfill at this point, feature 7, the mound or potential big interest. If you are exposed to wood footprints, is anticipated, I believe.
Okay.
Range that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. Yes, thanks, John. Does anyone else have anything else? You cut out again, John. I didn't know if you had something for us. Oh, all right. Okay, well, thank you, John. I think we're all done then. So I guess we'll call this a wrap. It is 7:32, and we will adjourn the November 18th meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, everyone, for your attendance and your patience.